you've likely sensed there's more to your existence than what meets the eye. That intuition isn't just wishful thinking, it's the recognition of a profound truth explored by spiritual scientists for centuries. Rudolf Steiner's insights into human nature offer a remarkable framework for understanding ourselves beyond the materialistic view that dominates our culture. What you're about to discover is knowledge that has traditionally been reserved for dedicated seekers, a comprehensive map of what it truly means to be human. This isn't abstract philosophy meant to collect dust on academic shelves. It's living wisdom that can transform how you experience yourself and your relationship to the world around you. Modern science has made remarkable progress in understanding our physical bodies. We can map genomes, transplant organs, and peer into the intricate workings of our cells. Yet this physical perspective, valuable as it is, captures only one dimension of our being. Steiner presents a more complete picture, one that recognizes humans as threefold beings of body, soul, and spirit. Through the body, we connect to the world. Through the soul, we experience and respond to it. And through the spirit, we come into contact with deeper, eternal realities. This threefold nature isn't just a poetic metaphor, it's a precise description of our constitution that can be verified through careful inner observation. Let's walk through each aspect and see how they interweave in our daily experience. The physical body is the material form we can see and touch, governed by physical laws. But Steiner reveals we also have an ether body, a life body, which distinguishes living beings from lifeless matter. It's what gives us growth, regeneration, and the forces of life itself. Beyond this is the sentient or astral body, the seat of sensation, desire, and awareness. It's what connects us to feelings and to the animal world, giving rise to our inner experiences of pleasure, pain, longing, and instinct. These three physical, etheric, and astral form our corporeal nature, and their balance explains much about our health, our emotional state, and our sense of being alive. They also shape how we move through sleep, where parts of our being disconnect and reconnect each night. By understanding the subtle distinctions between these bodies, we start to see ourselves not just as mechanical organisms, but as layered beings woven out of physical substance, living energy, and conscious awareness. This is the foundation upon which Steiner builds the deeper picture of the soul and spirit. Modern science has made remarkable progress in understanding our physical bodies. We can map genomes, transplant organs, and peer into the intricate workings of our cells. Yet this physical perspective, valuable as it is, captures only one dimension of our being. Rudolf Steiner, in his seminal work Theosophy, presents a more complete picture, one that recognizes humans as threefold beings of body, soul, and spirit. Through his body, man is able to place himself for the time being in connection with things. Through his soul, he retains in himself the impressions which they make on him. Through his spirit, there reveals itself to him what the things retain in themselves. This threefold nature isn't just a poetic metaphor, it's a precise description of our constitution that can be verified through careful inner observation. Let me guide you through each aspect of this trinity and show you how understanding it can illuminate your own experience. The body connects us to the physical world through the senses. The soul processes experiences as inner life, the seat of feelings, desires, and thoughts. The spirit perceives eternal truths and is the source of moral intuition and higher cognition. The body relates to the mineral, plant, and animal kingdoms. The soul creates a bridge between the outer world and inner experience. The spirit connects to universal spiritual realities beyond time and space. When most people think of the human body, they think only of its physical aspect, the bones, muscles, organs, and tissues that make up our material form. But Steiner reveals that our corporeal nature is actually more complex, consisting of three distinct bodies or aspects. The physical body is the material body that we can see and touch. It is subject to the same laws of physics and chemistry as the mineral world. It's what remains when life has departed. That which distinguishes man from minerals is called by spiritual science the ether body or life body. The ether body is the body of formative forces that gives life to the physical body. It's what distinguishes a living being from a corpse. The ether body is the architect that builds and maintains the physical body, fighting against its tendency to decay. It's shared with the plant kingdom, which also exhibits growth, reproduction, and regeneration. The ether body is a force form. It consists of active forces and not of matter. The sentient or astral body is the body of consciousness and sensation. It allows us to experience pleasure and pain, desire and aversion. We share this body with the animal kingdom, which also experiences inner sensations and a form of consciousness. Through his sentient body, man is related to the animals. Plants have only an ether or life body. Animals have also a sentient body. Understanding these three aspects of our corporeal nature helps explain phenomena that purely materialistic science struggles to account for. It helps us understand the organizing intelligence of living systems. It clarifies the relationship between consciousness and the brain. And it explains the profound effects of thoughts and emotions on physical health. The physical body is shared with the mineral kingdom and remains in bed during sleep. The ether body is shared with the plant kingdom and stays with the physical body during sleep. The sentient or astral body is shared with the animal kingdom and separates during sleep. Each night, part of our being leaves the physical world behind an experience that hints at deeper layers of our existence. What happens to us when we die? This question has stirred the human soul for millennia. And while material science remains silent, spiritual science offers something far more illuminating. Rudolf Steiner describes a world beyond death, a realm of inner purification and transformation. He calls it the soul world, and every human being enters it after physical death. The soul world is not a physical place, but a realm of forces: desire, sympathy, antipathy, and emotion. It's here the soul begins to shed its earthly attachments. Steiner describes 7 regions of this world, each one purifying a different part of the soul. Our strongest earthly desires, whether for food, pleasure, or power, must now dissolve. This purification isn't punishment. It's a natural process. The soul longs for a deep inner cleansing to make way for something higher. The soul relives its earthly life, not through memory alone, but through spiritual perception. It sees how its actions affected others and begins to understand the deeper meaning behind its choices. The more a soul has clung to the physical, the longer this process takes. But every soul, eventually, is freed from its lower attachments and prepared for what comes next. At the highest region of the soul world, earthly desires fade entirely. The soul becomes transparent, ready to release the spirit to its true home. This is where the soul's journey ends and the spirit's journey begins. The soul steps aside, and the eternal self enters the realm of Spiritland. The journey through the soul world teaches us death is not an end. It's a necessary passage, a transformation toward freedom, wisdom, and deeper spiritual insight. After death, once the soul has been purified of its earthly attachments, the spirit enters a new realm, a luminous world known as Spiritland. This is not an imaginary place, but the true homeland of the human spirit, where all that we experienced on earth is transformed into spiritual essence. In Spiritland, thoughts are no longer abstract or vague. They live. They shine. Every idea we've ever grasped takes on form and color, revealing its deeper nature as a being of light and sound. We now move among archetypes, the spiritual originals behind all physical things. What we saw on earth as mountains, animals, or even our own bodies now appear as radiant templates, pulsing with meaning and purpose. Spiritland unfolds in 7 distinct regions, each one expressing a deeper layer of universal truth. In these realms, we don't just observe wisdom, we live it, breathe it, and become one with it. The first region holds the archetypes of all that is solid and formed the bones of the world, so to speak. Here, the structures of the physical universe are born from thought forms woven by spirit. In the second region, we find the life force itself flowing like a spiritual bloodstream. This is the realm of living currents, the soul of rivers, plants, and breath itself streaming through everything. The third region carries the soul's own reflections, feelings, memories, desires. Here, the storms and sunrises of our emotional life take on form like breezes of hope or fierce winds of passion, each shaping our evolving spirit. As we rise higher, we encounter the beings who guide creation itself. They are not symbols or myths, but conscious forces of harmony and order, shaping the destiny of worlds through divine intelligence. In the highest regions, we come to the seedbed of all future becoming. Here, the spirit receives impulses for its next earthly life, goals to fulfill, challenges to meet, and truths to embody. The journey through Spiritland is a time of nourishment, expansion, and preparation. It is here that the soul rests and the spirit gathers strength, so that when we return to earth, we do so with new purpose, carrying the light of Spiritland into the world of matter. You don't need blind belief to access spiritual truth. Rudolf Steiner taught that each of us can awaken higher perception through disciplined inner development. This is the path of higher knowledge, a living practice to perceive beyond the material world. It begins not with visions, but with your attitude. The foundation is reverence for truth, inner calm, and balanced thinking. You must approach spiritual wisdom with humility and a willingness to transform. 6 basic exercises prepare your soul. Control your thoughts by focusing on one idea. Control your actions by choosing one small deed to do each day with full awareness. Maintain emotional balance, practice positivity, stay open-minded, and bring all these into harmony. Next comes meditation. This isn't emptying the mind, it's focused, living concentration on a spiritual image or idea. Over time, your soul awakens to perceive realities hidden from the senses. Through this inner work, subtle organs of perception form what Steiner called lotus flowers. These are non-physical senses that allow you to perceive spiritual beings, forces, and truths. As your inner vision sharpens, you enter the first stage of higher knowledge, imagination. Here, you see the living forces behind the physical world, not as symbols, but as vibrant realities. Beyond imagination lies inspiration, the experience of hearing the inner essence of spiritual beings. You begin to sense meaning in events, relationships, and patterns that once seemed random. At the highest stage is intuition. This is not a hunch, it's a direct union with spiritual truth. You no longer observe the spirit from the outside, you become one with it. But before you pass fully into the spiritual world, you must meet the guardian of the threshold. This being reveals everything in your soul, still tied to illusion, fear, and ego. Only by facing your shadow can you move forward in truth. This path isn't about escape. It's about becoming more awake, more human. As your spiritual senses grow, so does your ability to serve, love, and understand. The world needs clear-sighted souls more than ever, and the first step begins within. The path to higher knowledge begins not with strange rituals or secret codes, but with a shift in how we live our everyday lives. Steiner teaches that the gateway to spiritual perception opens through inner development, strengthening the soul through discipline, reverence, and balance. Before we can perceive the spiritual world, we must cultivate certain foundational qualities. These include reverence for truth, inner tranquility, clear judgment, and a deepening moral life. The first basic exercise is control of thought. We train our mind to focus on one object or idea with clarity and calm, not to drift, but to think with intention. Next comes control of action. We perform small tasks with full awareness, like lighting a candle at the same time daily. Through this, we shape our will to act consciously and deliberately. Then we cultivate equanimity, emotional balance. Instead of reacting impulsively, we learn to stay centered through joy and sorrow, observing without being overwhelmed. The fourth exercise is positivity. We practice seeing the good and meaningful in every experience, even in hardship. This opens our soul to the deeper purpose behind life's events. Next is open-mindedness. We become receptive, laying aside bias so the world can reveal its deeper truths. This is the soil in which spiritual perception grows. All of these lead to inner harmony. Our thoughts, feelings, and will begin to work together, preparing the soul for deeper vision. Through consistent practice and meditation, we awaken organs of spiritual perception. These are not physical, but etheric and astral centers, what Steiner called lotus flowers. They blossom quietly as our soul becomes a vessel for higher worlds. Spiritual knowledge isn't just about visions. It's about becoming more human, more centered, ethical, awake. We don't escape the world, we illuminate it from within. When the soul has completed its purification in the soul world, the spirit ascends into the higher realm Steiner calls Spiritland. This is not a place, but a plane of pure spiritual being, the origin of all archetypes and the true home of the human spirit. Steiner explains that our earthly thoughts are just shadows. In Spiritland, we experience living thoughts, real beings that shape the physical and soul worlds. It's like stepping into the creative mind of the cosmos itself. Everything here is living, dynamic, and full of meaning. Instead of objects and ideas, we encounter archetypes, primordial forces behind nature, art, morality, and human evolution. There are 7 interwoven regions in Spiritland. The lower regions hold the spiritual templates of the physical world, while the higher ones carry the creative purposes that guide human and cosmic development. As we journey through each region, we dissolve into them. We live into their qualities, absorbing their wisdom. This isn't passive observation, it's participation. We experience the true form of our own past life, not as memories or emotions, but as a complete spiritual being, a thought form that we helped shape through our earthly deeds. In the highest regions, we encounter the living seeds of future destiny. Here, the spirit works on shaping its next incarnation, choosing parents, circumstances, and challenges that support its continued evolution. Imagined it like a cosmic architect reviewing blueprints. Everything we've done, felt, and learned becomes material for a new design, and the spiritual world helps shape it in harmony with larger purposes. This time between lives isn't just rest, it's recreation. The spirit prepares itself to enter a new life, enriched with new capacities, drawn from what it has experienced, transmuted, and understood. And when the time is ripe, the spirit begins its descent once more. It returns through the soul world, drawing new soul garments, and then into the physical world, reborn into a new chapter of its long journey. When the soul has matured through imagination and inspiration, it stands before a final threshold. Here it encounters the greater guardian. This is not an external being, but a mirror of your entire karmic self. Everything unresolved in your inner life, fears, impulses, intentions, now stands clearly before you. To pass this threshold, one must face themselves completely without distortion. The guardian does not judge, punish, or praise. It simply reveals the truth. Only through deep moral development and inner courage can the soul unite with this revelation. When we meet this guardian consciously and steadily, we become ready for true intuition. Intuition is not a vague feeling. It is direct union with spiritual beings and realities. It is knowledge that arises from within, yet reaches into the eternal. Crossing this threshold marks a new stage of inner freedom and responsibility. The soul no longer reacts to the spiritual world. It acts within it. What lies beyond the soul world after death? Where do the creative forces that shape our physical world come from? Rudolf Steiner calls this realm the Spiritland, the highest of the three worlds. It is the true home of the human spirit. Here, we encounter the archetypes behind all things, living spiritual realities that shape existence. Thoughts here aren't just ideas, they are beings. Our everyday thinking is like a shadow of the living thoughts that exist in Spiritland. In this world, everything we know as abstract becomes vivid and real. These are the spiritual templates for the physical and soul worlds. Spiritland is composed of 7 interpenetrating regions. Each one holds a different aspect of spiritual creation. From the archetypes of minerals to the inner purpose of existence itself, these regions hold the cosmic blueprints. We pass through them after death to review, understand, and prepare. In the lower regions, we encounter the spiritual forms of everything earthly, our own body included. We see it not as ours anymore, but as part of the world. This gives rise to a deep sense of unity with all creation. As we ascend, we move beyond the forms to the forces of life and feeling. Everything we experienced in our soul life on earth now speaks to us in spiritual language. It's not a memory, it's a living reality. We feel the cosmic rhythm behind our emotions, thoughts, and impulses. Higher still, we reach the regions of creative spiritual beings. These are the sources of impulses that gave our earthly life its shape and direction. Here, we don't just reflect, we participate. We become part of the unfolding of creation. Our spirit is nourished in this world. What we bring from our last life is refined and transformed. New insights take root that will unfold in our next incarnation. Spiritland is not rest. It is preparation, evolution, and inspiration. This is where we plan the next stage of our journey. Not like an architect drawing blueprints, but as a spiritual being attuning to deeper purposes. When we return to Earth, it's not random. We carry intentions that were born here. The Spiritland isn't distant or abstract. It is the source of our deepest creativity and highest truth. It's where our spiritual individuality takes shape again and again. To live with awareness of Spiritland is to live with purpose, not just to achieve, but to align with the deeper meaning behind life. It's an invitation to participate consciously in our own evolution and in the evolution of the world. You've now seen the blueprint of the human being, the soul's journey after death, and the spirit's cosmic origins. But how can you experience these truths directly? Rudolf Steiner offers a practical path, the development of spiritual perception through inner discipline. This path doesn't require you to abandon daily life. It begins with cultivating inner qualities, reverence, calmness, clarity of thought, and ethical strength. These are not abstract ideals. They are inner muscles that prepare your soul for higher vision. The first practices are deceptively simple. Focus your attention fully on a small object, a leaf, a candle, a simple tool. Let your thinking become steady, quiet, and inwardly alive. This strengthens your capacity for spiritual concentration. Next, bring consciousness to your actions. Perform small, deliberate deeds each day out of pure will, free from habit or reward. This awakens your inner independence, preparing your soul for spiritual work. Then comes equanimity, remaining centered in joy and sorrow. Feelings are not repressed but transformed. You become transparent to the deeper currents moving through you. With balance established, you begin true spiritual perception. Through meditation on living ideas or symbols, new organs of inner sight begin to stir. You begin to see in pictures what Steiner called imagination. From imagination, you progress to inspiration, hearing the inner music and meaning of the spiritual world. Then, through intuition, you commune directly with the beings of that world. But this path is not without challenge. You must pass the guardian of the threshold, the mirror of your unpurified self. Only through moral courage and clarity can you safely cross into the higher worlds. The purpose of this path is not escape, but service. As you rise into the spiritual world, you return with new strength, insight, and love. You become a conscious co-worker in the evolution of humanity. The path of knowledge is not for a select few. It's open to all who seek truth sincerely. As Steiner said, for every human being who awakens, the world becomes brighter. Your transformation is the world's transformation. The true measure of spiritual development isn't special powers or mystical experiences. It's how deeply we live into wisdom, compassion, and presence in our daily lives. Every spiritual insight must be grounded in ethical growth. As we develop new capacities of perception, we also carry a greater responsibility for how we use them. Rudolf Steiner emphasized that the path to higher knowledge begins not with technique, but with the moral attitude of the seeker. Spiritual science is not about escaping reality. It's about seeing it more clearly, more fully, and more lovingly. Through meditation, inner work, and selfless service, we begin to awaken new senses of perception. These are not added from outside, but unfold from within as we grow into our truest self. Each step brings us closer to the spirit behind all things, the living wisdom that speaks through nature, art, and human destiny. The goal is not to transcend life, but to spiritualize it from within. To truly understand the spiritual worlds, it's not enough to believe, we must perceive. Rudolf Steiner calls us to awaken inner faculties that lie dormant in every human being. This isn't about blind faith. It's about training our soul to see beyond the veil. The journey begins with inner preparation. Qualities like reverence for truth, patience, and moral clarity create the soil in which spiritual perception can grow. Only with a quiet soul can we begin to hear what the spirit world is saying. Steiner outlines 6 foundational exercises. These include focused thinking, purposeful actions, emotional balance, positivity, openness, and inner harmony. Each strengthens a part of the soul and reshapes our inner life. The exercises may seem simple, like observing a stone or performing a daily act with mindfulness, but they build concentration and self-mastery, opening subtle senses that are normally asleep. What's weak and unfocused in ordinary life becomes radiant through spiritual discipline. As we practice, we begin to experience 3 stages of spiritual perception: imagination, inspiration, and intuition. Imagination brings living pictures. Inspiration allows us to hear the soul of things. Intuition reveals beings directly. These aren't fantasies. They're deeper perceptions of reality, perceiving forces, archetypes, and moral essences. They reveal the true spiritual dimension behind physical life. To move forward, we must also face the guardian of the threshold. This being reflects back our unresolved karma, illusions, and fears. Only by recognizing and transforming them can we enter the spiritual world responsibly. The guardian doesn't punish, it protects. It ensures we don't misuse higher vision before we've matured inwardly. Courage, clarity, and humility are our keys to passing this threshold. The path isn't an escape from the world. It's a deeper engagement with it, living with more wisdom, compassion, and creative power. True spiritual insight should make us better humans, not distant mystics. Steiner's path is a map for the evolution of human consciousness. Each person who awakens their spiritual sight brings light into the world. And together, we help shape the future of humanity, not just in thought, but in being. The transformation of ordinary thinking into spiritual perception is not about escaping reality. It's about deepening your relationship to it, awakening to the inner life pulsing behind every moment. As your consciousness evolves, so does the quality of your attention. You begin to notice subtleties in thoughts, feelings, and experiences that were once invisible. In this stage of development, the I becomes both the observer and the transformer. You no longer react impulsively. You shape your responses with awareness and intention. Steiner describes this as the awakening of the conscious soul. Here, knowledge isn't memorized or received from others. It's born from within. The exercises you've been practicing, control of thought, balance of feeling, inner stillness, begin to bear fruit. They act like spiritual muscles, strengthening your ability to perceive beyond the material. But this path also brings challenges. You begin to see aspects of yourself you previously ignored, your patterns, projections, and limitations. Meeting these, honestly, is part of the work. They are not obstacles. They are the raw materials of transformation. As Steiner says, true spiritual insight must be earned. It's not given by external authority. It arises through inner discipline and moral clarity. Eventually, moments of true spiritual perception break through, not as fantasies, but as insights that feel more real than anything you've experienced with the senses. These moments are glimpses of who you really are, a being of body, soul, and spirit, awake, evolving, and connected to the cosmos. As the seeker progresses along the path of inner development, new capacities of perception begin to unfold. These are not vague intuitions, but clearly defined stages of spiritual insight that Steiner describes in precise detail. The first stage is imagination. At this level, the student no longer sees only the material world, but begins to perceive living images, spiritual realities clothed in form. These are not fantasies, but true pictures from the etheric world. Through disciplined meditation and concentration, the soul learns to read these imaginations like a symbolic language. Nature reveals its hidden patterns, and spiritual beings begin to make their presence known through form and color. The second stage is inspiration. Here, the spiritual world no longer communicates in pictures, but in a kind of silent speech, an inner hearing. The student begins to perceive the intentions, rhythms, and relationships of spiritual beings directly. Inspiration brings the soul into contact with the moral laws of the cosmos. It's as though the soul enters a realm of spiritual music, where the harmonies of destiny and higher purpose can be heard. The third and most advanced stage is intuition. This is not a vague hunch, but a direct inner union with the essence of spiritual beings. At this stage, separation dissolves, and the I participates fully in spiritual reality. Intuition grants access to the true nature of the human self, to karma, and to the inner lives of others. It's the stage where love becomes knowledge, and knowledge becomes service. These stages are not theoretical, they are real expansions of consciousness. Each unfolds through moral development, clear thinking, and inner discipline, not through escapism or fantasy. Imagination refines our seeing. Inspiration refines our listening. Intuition refines our being. Together, these capacities form the organs of spiritual perception. They are the bridge between earthly experience and the higher worlds. They reveal our true purpose as conscious co-creators in the evolution of spirit. The path to higher knowledge isn't about gaining supernatural abilities. It's about awakening your perception to realities that are already part of your being. Rudolf Steiner outlines a conscious, methodical approach to spiritual development. It begins with qualities of soul, not esoteric techniques. The first condition is a genuine reverence for truth, not passive belief, but an active devotion to understanding. Next comes inner tranquility. A quiet, focused soul becomes sensitive to the subtle impressions of the spiritual world. Balanced judgment is essential. You must cultivate discernment, avoiding both credulity and cynical doubt. Ethical development is not optional. True spiritual progress must be matched by moral strength and integrity. With this foundation, Steiner introduces 6 core exercises: control of thought, control of action, equanimity, positivity, open-mindedness, and harmony. These aren't abstract ideals. They're daily practices that strengthen the soul, preparing it for higher perception. Through disciplined meditation and inner work, the soul unfolds organs of spiritual perception, what Steiner calls lotus flowers. This path is not about escape. It's about becoming more deeply human, more awake, and more capable of serving truth. True spiritual development doesn't separate you from life. It prepares you to meet life's challenges with new strength and clarity. It deepens your responsibility, broadens your vision, and awakens you to the interconnectedness of all beings. Spiritual knowledge is not an end in itself. It's a call to action, to live with greater consciousness, to love more deeply, and to serve the unfolding evolution of humanity. Each genuine step toward higher knowledge strengthens the human spirit and weaves light into the fabric of the world. The work of spiritual development is never done. Each day offers opportunities to refine our thoughts, deepen our feelings, and align our will with the good, the true, and the beautiful. Through persistent striving, we gradually become conscious participants in the evolution of life itself. The true initiate does not seek to escape the world, but to serve it. They bring spiritual light into everyday life, into relationships, into work, into the smallest details of existence. They embody the reality that spirit and matter are not separate, but 2 aspects of one living whole. This service is not loud or self-important. It often goes unnoticed by the world. Yet its effects ripple out invisibly, nourishing the souls of others and strengthening the forces of life and love on earth. At a certain stage, the seeker realizes that the path of higher knowledge is not a private journey. It is a sacred trust, a responsibility to contribute to the healing and transformation of humanity. The greater the knowledge, the greater the need for humility. True spiritual insight deepens reverence for the mystery of existence and awakens awe before the infinite wisdom of the cosmos. The ultimate goal of spiritual science is not simply to know, but to become transparent to the spirit, to become a conscious bridge between heaven and earth. Each sincere effort we make, no matter how small, draws unseen help from the higher worlds. The spirit world is not distant. It leans close to every genuine human striving. Thus, even in the darkest times, we are never truly alone. Guidance, strength, and wisdom are always available to those who seek them with an open heart and a clear mind. The path is long. It requires patience, courage, perseverance, and love. But each step brings us closer to becoming who we are meant to be: creative, free, loving beings, conscious citizens of the cosmos. The journey of the soul is eternal, and every effort made toward light and truth echoes through eternity, helping to weave a more beautiful, more conscious, more harmonious world. The wise voices of the past still speak, but only if we listen can their words carry on. Subscribe to help keep them alive.